Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Xbox Casuals, the Xbox podcast. I'm your host, Corey Deerigan. Alongside me, as always, is none other than the Ranger hopeful himself, Josh Finney.
Oh my god. Guys, I apologize to everybody listening to this. We are doing this pod during Game 7 of the ALCS between my beloved Rangers and the fucking Houston Astros. We're up 3-1 in the second, so I have hopes. Hopefully they just continue to be better and better. But yeah, this is only our third trip ever to the ALCS in franchise history, so I really hope that we make it to another World Series. Phillies Diamondbacks forced Game 7 just before we started, too.
Yeah.
Arizona forced Game 7, so hats off to them, a team that was not even projected to make the postseason.
Yeah.
So the Diamondbacks and the Rangers have been trashed basically my entire life. It would be a ratings nightmare for Fox Sports if this were to happen. But so therefore, I'm hoping that it happens. But yeah, I'm really excited no matter what. It's a great time. The NBA starts this week.
Yeah, Cavs on Friday, I want to say.
Did you see the video? You probably didn't, but it was being widely shared in Mavs circles of one of the assistant coaches had these long, like 4 foot rubber pads on his hands that were strapped and like tied down to his arms to simulate Victor Wembanyama's arm reach. And he was swatting away. Kyrie was trying to shoot threes and he was just swatting them all down. Derek Lively tried to go in for a dunk and he just like beat the shit out of them essentially.
That's funny.
Because we play the Spurs opening night.
Yeah, well,
we open our season in San Antonio, so it's our number one rival, and it's fucking Wemby, who's like the best prospect since maybe LeBron James, if not before LeBron. Like, yeah. when people are placing betting odds for you to be Defensive Player of the Year before you've even played a single minute in the NBA, yeah. So I'm a little scared for my beloved Mavs when the season kicks off. I'm not looking forward to that. I'm not looking forward to that game. But
yeah, I mean, that's fair.
It is fair.
The Cavs play the Thunder on their opener, so
that should be a really good game.
Yeah.
Listen. I will always hate the Oklahoma City Thunder because I'm from Seattle. They stole my Supersonics away. It is what it is. Right as they drafted Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, by the way. Stole the Supersonics away. And now we're running into the same problem they did in Seattle. They need a new arena. And Oklahoma City doesn't really want to pay for it.
Yeah.
So, fair. Yeah. Will they move again? Stay tuned. But yeah, no, we open the season Wednesday night. Mavs Spurs. I may be in a really bad mood on Tower Casuals on Thursday.
No,
or just in like complete awe if Kyrie throws up like 50 points. But that's asking a lot.
That's
Corey, we have a lot of Xbox news to talk about tonight.
We do.
Not just my sports woes.
Yeah. Speaking of sports woes, though, Josh, our teams play Browns Seahawks.
Browns Seahawks do play on Sunday. We're wearing the throwback jerseys.
Yeah, so are we.
I'm extremely excited. The Seahawks throwbacks I love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have a Seahawks hoodie that's in those colors that I'm very excited about.
We're wearing our 1946 all whites, so watch out, Josh.
1946 all whites.
Yeah, which I don't really know. Whatever. The Browns. Look,
that doesn't make sense for a team called the Browns.
Look, I love the Browns, but they grasp at straws for everything, right? They don't have their logo is either an elf, a very terrible clip art dog that looks straight out of Madden Create a Team, and then a football with a B in the middle. Mm-hmm. And of course, just the orange helmet, because that's a sweet logo.
It's so bad.
I know.
It's so bad. I'm just like, can we change the Browns logo at any point, please?
Yeah. Can we
just for y'all's sake? That's got to be and it like represents the franchise too, right? It's the most like blasé, bland fucking logo you can think of.
I know.
In professional sports.
Although the last 2 games haven't been anything but blah for us, at least.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyways.
Anyways.
Corey, what have you been playing?
So I've been playing the Spider-Man Remastered DLC since we
Okay.
talked last. I finished the main campaign.
I didn't like the DLC.
I, I'm in the second part of it, so
I was not a fan of it. It's to me it's the weakest thing that they've done with the Spider-Man license, like
yeah,
by far.
I gotta say the stuff that I'm doing now feels really forced. Like,
Yeah, Miles. I would have loved if they had just went straight into Miles Morales. That is
yeah,
significantly a better game.
yeah, yeah. Uh,
Um,
but I mean, I only have like 3 or 4 hours left, so I just might as well
okay,
stick it out.
I mean, you might as well. I honestly, I kind of stopped at about the point that you are now for the same reasons. I didn't
Mhm.
like it. It felt forced.
Yeah,
Black Cat's a really weird character to do right.
yeah,
Because like you don't want to sexualize her too much. Like this is a game that's supposed to appeal to like all ages,
hmm
and Black Cat is a very sexual character.
hmm yeah. No kidding.
So it's like trying to make Catwoman family friendly.
Yeah. Mm.
So I mean,
Well,
literally like the same character. So
dude, the only version of Black Cat that's family friendly is the on the cartoon that my kids watch.
is it like Spider Man and his amazing friends or something?
Yeah, Spidey and his amazing friends. Yep.
Oh my
Where they
god,
like where they call they call Miles Spin because they can't have two Spider-Mans.
that's stupid.
Yeah.
Kids, it's time to learn about the multiverse early.
And Gwen is called Ghosty.
I
So
mean, Spider Gwen was originally called Ghost Spider, anyways.
yeah.
So that at
Yeah.
least makes a little bit of sense. But Spin,
Yeah.
uh, fucking stupid.
Spidey, Spin, and Ghosty. So and my son is obsessed with all of them. So
I mean, he's at about that age, so
yeah. Uh
start him early, Corey.
yeah. I he watched me play Spider-Man a little bit and he loved it. But then they started like there's a scene where there's a lot of cussing and I'm like, well, I don't want him saying these words, so uh but I also played a little bit of Forza Motorsport and
Okay,
Josh, I'm going to tell you something. It's going to blow your mind.
you're bad at Forza.
No. Well,
Oh,
yeah, but that wasn't what I was going to tell you. I was going to tell you that it's more Forza.
it's more Forza. I mean, what a ringing endorsement. I've heard great things from people who are like really into racing sims. I've
Yeah.
heard really good things about it. Like it needed some more polish, and like to a lot of people, it seems like Horizon has like kind of overtaken it as like the premier Forza title at this point.
hmm
This is very much like for racing enthusiasts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's their Gran Turismo, right? I mean,
It is, but like Gran Turismo 7 didn't exactly have a lot of polish at launch either, right?
yeah. Yeah.
It just seems to kind of be a common recurrence, and like for the first game in what was it, 6 years, 6 years,
Six.
2017 was the last time we got a Forza, a
Yeah.
true like
Because
Forza
we've
Motorsport.
had 3 Horizons since then.
We've had two. We got 4 and 5. Three came out the year before.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah, we got the 1-2 punch of Horizon 3 and Gears of War 4 in the same year, if you can believe that.
God, dude.
Um,
So long since these franchises.
so long.
I want Gear 6 to come out and be amazing and then put it away for a while.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like the thought around around the fan base right now is like let's get Gear 6, let's end the current story, put it in the vault.
Just because I'm really interested to see what the coalition, I almost called him Black Tusk, what the coalition
Oh
can
my god.
do.
What a throwback.
Can do
Yeah,
other than
I'd
Gears.
like to see them like free of the shackles of Gears. Not that Gears isn't good, but we're kind of wearing out its welcome at this point.
Which is
You've
so
had
weird because like between 4, 5, and 6, it's been like I mean 5 alone between 5 and 6, it's been like 5 years almost. What,
part of
four
that.
and a half?
I mean, you also have to take into consideration that 5 came out, and about 6 months later, we got plunged into a pandemic.
Yeah.
They made the switch to Unreal 5.
Mhm.
They worked on the Matrix tech demo during that time.
Yeah.
They were working on another original IP that apparently got shelved and or canceled.
Yeah.
According to Jeff Grubb and I think Jez Corden have both said they heard that it got canned.
Mm.
And
Well,
it, like they just haven't heard anything on one of. They were working on 2 different projects. One of them got canned. One of them they haven't heard anything on.
mhm.
And it's thought that Gear 6 is like fully in production at that studio right now.
Yeah, I mean that's why they shelved or canceled that project, right? Is because, well, for the Microsoft had a bunch of layoffs, right? And some of
Yeah,
that affected the Gears team. Not all of it, but some
which
of
is
it,
weird.
especially yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that is far and away, like, of the internal teams that you've built up, that and Turn 10 are, like, year 2 premier ones.
Yeah.
The initiative has been plagued with problems since it was founded, and 343 is a disaster.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's so weird to me.
Yeah. And
I hope with some of these support studios that they're getting with, the Activision Blizzard deal, like, maybe they can help out a little bit or something.
yeah. So Gears 6 is hopefully they
I'm
show a little bit of it
I'm
next year.
still riding on my prediction that it's a 2024 game.
Man, I
That
would
is that is one of
look.
the very few Xbox games I think you can come out, you can show a trailer and say it's coming out in 4 months.
I mean, that would be awesome. I would be all over that. My feeling is that it might be a 2025 game, and
It,
they'll
it
release some sort of
realistically, it probably is.
yeah, and like they'll release some sort of collection next year or something.
I really hope the Gears collection thing isn't real,
Oh, I do.
because I'll tell you something. One already got a remaster, and 2 and 3 I played them not that long ago. Play great.
Yeah. No, I agree.
They
They
play
play
and look
great,
great.
but they can look better.
Eh,
Plus, they
I
want to make some money.
I'm just seeing, like, I'm just not a fan of that, and like I think that Microsoft's kind of seeing like, do we really want to fund this if we're just going to throw it straight to Game Pass?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm also the same guy who's like, I'm totally cool with the Fallout 3 remaster. So what the
Yeah.
fuck do I
Yeah.
know?
But yeah, go back to games we've been playing.
Back to games we've been playing.
That's kind of all I've been playing. I want to play Mario Wonder, but I haven't purchased it yet. So you know, I'll get there at some point.
Well, here's some more Spider-Man talk for you then. I have been playing Spider-Man 2.
Ooh,
I rolled credits this evening on it.
already?
Already, it is a short game.
Did
You got to
you?
remember, so Thursday night, it unlocks Thursday night,
Right.
and I played a little bit Thursday night, and by a little bit I mean I stayed up like way later than I should have. I was totally free on Friday, so I got a lot in on Friday, and I mean Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, I have about 22 hours in the game, and I've 100%ed it.
Wow.
It is a
That.
nice tight experience. It's not like overwhelming
Yeah.
in the content department.
Hmm.
I feel like one, and not necessarily Miles, I think they learned from one, but one felt like it was overloaded with stuff.
Yeah.
And it also helps that it's a little bit more spread out too. I think that
Hmm.
helps with the feeling, that
Yeah.
everything's not on top of each other, and they really stagger everything to where, like, you'll get bases you have to go liberate, and then you'll get another wave of them in like a different way
Hmm.
later on in the game, and then you get a third wave, but they're
Yeah.
all different, and they each award more and more XP.
Yeah.
And they each they all three of those things expand upon the main story. Well, maybe not necessarily the third one, but um the rest of the stuff really does expand on the main story and gives you like important context, I think.
Hmm.
Kind of hints at like where a Spider-Man 3 could potentially go.
Yeah.
I'm super excited. I can't wait. I really really hope that Spider-Man 3. I mean, of course it's gonna be in production, right?
Yeah. It's got to be right. I mean,
I think what bothers me the most about Spider-Man is the discourse around it. There are some people who, and a lot of it, I think a lot of it's comic book fans who want Insomniac to just become a Marvel studio, and that would be, I think, just such a waste of Insomniac's talents.
yeah, I do too.
I think Insomniac's a very, very talented studio.
Yeah. I mean,
Beyond Ratchet and Clank, like they just did Ratchet and Clank for how many years?
Yeah.
They did Ratchet and Clank, and then they did Ratchet and Resistance, and they've
Now,
always kind of had two separate things going. Like then it was Ratchet's always been the constant, right? They were doing Ratchet,
yeah.
and then they were doing like Sunset Overdrive, and like what was that other one? Like Sea of Solitude, I
Fuse.
think. Fuse was another one. They had a couple of off games there, right? And then it was like, oh, we're doing Ratchet, but we're also doing Spider Man,
Yeah.
and honestly, like I think Rift Apart's a good Ratchet and Clank game. It's probably the best Ratchet and Clank game that they've made in a very hot minute.
Yeah.
Um, but it really feels like they are transitioning over to being primarily a Marvel studio right now. because they're gonna have Spider-Man 3 in development. Wolverine's already in development,
Mm-hmm.
and there's been a constant rumor of there being a multiplayer game in development at Insomniac,
Mm-hmm.
and I just cannot fathom that that is Ratchet and Clank. Rumors
Yeah.
that I heard was it could potentially be another Marvel game, and I really hope it's not, unless it's like them doing Avengers or Fantastic Four correctly. I'd
Hmm.
be interested to see one of those.
Maybe it's X-Men since Wolverine will come out first.
So here's why I think it's Avengers, because Spider-Man and Wolverine are both Avengers, and you could just shove them into the same game.
Yeah.
I'd be like, hey, you're already familiar with these guys. Let's add two more characters. Like you've kind of got you've kind of got flight mechanics down now with the suit, with the web
Mm-hmm.
suit. So
Mm-hmm.
hey, let's throw Iron Man in here. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and depending on how you do the Wolverine combat, you could add another close quarters fighter in like Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
So Captain America and like maybe you throw like Black Widow in as a fifth member or something. But the Insomniac Avengers in universe are bums. Like, how the fuck do you see this stuff keep happening in New York where you have a tower and you're like, that's a shame. Got to sip my afternoon tea with Jarvis.
Right.
It's so ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But I really enjoyed my time with Spider-Man 2. Maybe we can talk about it in a future segment of the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it, like, technically, and it may apparently, like, this is largely a me thing. I had the game crash on me about 9 or 10 times over the course of my playthrough.
Yeah, I heard there were bugs.
It crashed on me 9 or 10 times. I got stuck inside two box trucks,
Ooh.
and I got stuck inside the Brooklyn Bridge twice.
Mm. Mm.
So yeah, was not a huge fan. It could be worse, but I was not a fan. Um, and I'm sure like all that's going to get patched up, right?
Oh yeah.
That my only question is like, do they do DLC? Like they establish a couple plot threads that can either be followed up in DLC or could be followed up in a third game.
Yeah.
They kind of tell you exactly where they're going to go with the third game at the end of the game. And it's in a direction that I think, like, one direction is a place that I think most of us expected them to go, and the other is like, oh, didn't see that one coming. So pretty excited, pretty excited. Insomniac does a good superhero story. I
Yeah.
just I wish I liked Peter Parker in these games. I just don't. I'm so sorry. I know it's like sacrilege to say I don't like Yuri Lowenthal's interpretation of Peter Parker. Um, just not a fan. But this is the best Harry Osborn we've ever gotten,
Mm.
in my opinion. It's the best adaptation of him.
That
This is the
so
Harry that I wish we got in Amazing Spider-Man 2,
mm, mm.
the movie.
the the okay, so without kind of spoiling the end
Yeah.
credit scene of one, does that storyline stick it through? Is that
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
100%. I mean, at this point, like everybody knows the post-credit scene because they show it there. They further show it at the end of Miles Morales in the post-credits, and it straight up is confirmed in the first teaser trailer for this game.
Mm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I guess you're right.
which I
I
mean,
I just didn't
it's
know if that like made some sort of switch in the like the middle of the game as some kind
no,
of weird.
no,
Oh, just kidding type thing.
no. I mean, like if you have any knowledge of the Spider-Man comics, this borrows very heavily from a couple of different storylines. Craven's Last Hunt is the basis for probably the first half of the game,
Mm.
I would say. Um, it's huge. It's a big deal. Oh my God, Adolis Garcia just hit another home run. Holy Jesus! Oh, I love this man. He hit the grand slam last night. It was beautiful. Yeah, solo homer, first at bat of the inning. Love it. Um, I think that the whole the how they handle like the symbiote and Venom is done really well in my opinion, and did some unexpected things I was not ready for. It answered some questions I had too about like how are you gonna make like okay so like you're just gonna fight Venom, like that's weird. How they transition throughout the storyline, how they handle Black Suit Spider-Man and like all this stuff is really well done while also weaving in other villains. The game almost does too much,
Mm.
and
It seems like it does a lot with
I mean
that
that in the
short
nicest
amount
way
of time.
possible. It does an awful lot. You can probably get through the main story in about 12 hours.
Hmm.
If you do all the side content, it'll probably take you like 23 to 25 ish. You can get the platinum in under 25 hours on this game.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
It's an excellent game. It does an awful lot of setup though. There's a lot of nods to Spider-Man's history throughout this. I love it, but um, I can't help but feel that there should have been maybe some of this should have been spaced out a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Is I guess all I'm trying to say. Like you can't, but at the same time, you can't adapt Craven's Last Hunt without Black Suit Spider-Man. Like that's that's the most iconic story with Black Suit Spider-Man in it.
Yeah.
Because that basically leads there's like a year-long gap, and then that is what starts the march to introducing Venom for the first time in the comics.
Yeah.
Spider-Man's had the black suit for a couple of years because of the first Secret Wars, and it's just it's well done. I think it's like the other villains feel like they're trying to do too much at the same time. And again, like there are some things I really did not expect. Do not look at a list of the suits that are in the game because that'll like give you hints as to where the story is going to go.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, I've seen way worse Spider-Man stories. This is almost certainly the best superhero game ever made. Like it's only real competitions are Arkham City and Arkham Asylum, in my opinion. It head and shoulders clears 2018 Spider-Man. I still think Miles Morales feels a little bit like tighter combat wise. Just because you only have to worry about one move set, but they each have separate skill trees and a shared skill tree, which is really cool. And they're constantly evolving and upgrading abilities throughout the game, which gives me hope for future titles.
Yeah.
Without spoiling anything. But this is Xbox Casuals. I don't want to rant too much about Spider-Man, but Spider-Man is.
I mean, it's a big game right now.
Spider-Man 2 is almost certainly going to be in my top 5 for Game of the Year. It might not be the best game I've played all year, but it's certainly the most fun that I've had. The web slinging feels good. The web glider feels like a no-brainer. The wind tunnels around the city really help. I pretty much stayed away from everything pre-release on this game. I saw the teaser trailer 2 years ago, and then I saw the reveal earlier this year during the PlayStation Showcase. And that's all that I watched. I did not watch anything else. I stayed away from all the previews. I stayed away from any trailers that came out. So I was very pleasantly surprised at a lot of the things in this game. I was not expecting a lot of things in this game because I didn't see those trailers.
Right.
So,
yeah. Last question on this. How's the pacing overall since there's so much in here? Is it because that was my problem with the first game? Is like
I think the pacing is really good. It takes a little bit to kind of get into the main plot of the game. Like Craven takes a little while to show up. And part of that's because I ran off and did a bunch of side content as soon as it popped. It takes a little bit to get into the groove of that storyline and like for that to make sense.
Yeah.
But I would say once you reach about the halfway point of the story, it doesn't stop. Like it takes off and it's like it's unrelenting. Okay. You basically, when you start the third act, the game is basically like, okay, it doesn't tell you explicitly, but the implication is put everything else on hold, go finish the story. The nice part about this game is you can essentially have all side content done before you hit that point. There are only a few things that you are forced to wait until you finish the main story to do. Everything else is available to you from, certain points in the main story. But almost everything's available by the beginning of Act 3, I would say.
All right. Yeah, just because like that was my only kind of issue with the first game, is like the pacing was like kind of all over the place. Like it started out really strong, and then like probably from like I would say like the start of the second act to like halfway through the third act, it felt kind of like it was dragging, and then they shoved all this stuff into like the last part of the third act that I wish they probably would have spread out over the course of the game. And but
yeah, I don't think I think the third act is actually probably the tightest act of the game, frankly. Because it's so focused on just go do the story,
right? Just
hurry up and get it done, essentially, and then you can go have fun in the sandbox again.
Good.
I think you have a greater appreciation for the game if you do a lot of the side stuff, like when you unlock it as part of the main story, because like you'll do like the first one of something, and then it'll be like, oh, these are all available for you to go do now. I think it's a lot more rewarding when you do that. Like there's hunter bases to do throughout the city, just like we had gang bases in the first one, right?
Hmm.
This is their version of that. I think those are really rewarding to go to right away. Like as soon as you get the first one, and then you don't really get any more until you get further into the game. But as soon as they pop, go do them. You get the option to like start hacking and following drones, do that right away. Like that adds to the enjoyment of the main story, I think, because it's all supplemental material to what's currently going on. So I think that Insomniac was really, really good in that regard.
Cool.
But
Well,
Corey, we
shoot.
have we have the story of the year tonight.
Hey Josh, did you know that Xbox bought Activision Blizzard King?
God, dude, how good was that? How good was that trailer?
It was pretty good.
That was pretty great. Like I've been pretty against this acquisition, and that little like sizzle reel they did of the Xbox, Bethesda, and Activision franchises all together was like genuinely got me like a little moved.
Yeah.
It was like, damn, this is like you can't say that like when Xbox actually tries, their marketing is so good.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of reminded me, not, of course, the message of the trailer or anything, but remember when
Yeah,
they revealed the adaptive controller and it was like really
I do.
emotional? Oh, that trailer got me.
I think that was good. The live action trailer did this past week was really good too.
Yeah.
The like 3 minute one, which seemingly confirms that Hellblade is the next exclusive up.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me at this point, though, right? I mean,
It had to be that or Towerborn, I think.
yeah.
And I both of those I think are out before summer, so
Yeah.
I expect those both to be. I think Tom Henderson I think was talking about Hellblade earlier this week and said that from what he understands, it's probably an early Q2 title.
Mm.
So probably like late March, early April, and that's about what we've been expecting too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Towerborn is going to be something that they're like, hey, here's like something in that late May time slot. They've had success there with Minecraft Legends in the past. Like, here's
Mm-hmm.
something like right as the kids are getting out of school. Here's something that like everyone's going to play for the summer because it's a multiplayer game. Flight Sim you can drop whenever. Aura you can drop whatever.
Yeah.
Like that kind of leaves Avowed and like something else big that they haven't told us about for fall, which is most likely Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Oh,
So
man, that'd be so cool. That'd be so
God,
cool.
this fucking acquisition is finally over, Corey. We can finally stop speculating about it every episode.
Yeah. Oh, my
People
gosh.
can stop arguing about it. It's funny, like it went through and I immediately stopped seeing criticism of it. Like I
Yeah.
stopped seeing all discourse period because I think we're all so tired of it.
Yeah. Man. Yeah. I
Just
mean, we were, I mean, we were talking about this on our old show. Like, that's how long it's been.
we've been talking about this for almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
We
What
are
was it,
two
like
month
19 months or something?
we are 2 months away from it being 24 months.
Yeah.
It would have been 2 years if we had made it to mid January.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
It is absolutely ridiculous, and I feel like it. I personally still think it was not vetted enough by the FTC. I think they just kind of fucked around and found out.
Yeah, I think I just think if they would have like done their due diligence really, like maybe they would have had a better chance of blocking this, but just because they don't know what they're looking for, so you know what I mean, it just really felt like they were grasping at straws that weren't there, you know.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And also like they focused on the wrong thing. They were only focused on Call of Duty,
Mhm.
and like, as much as you may hate them, the CMA like actually did get a better deal for consumers in the long run.
Yeah.
Even if we don't personally like it as like hardcore Xbox guys, it going to Ubisoft, these games going to Ubisoft Plus is a huge deal.
Which supposedly they were like already available or will be relatively soon.
Yeah, I don't think they're available just yet.
Hmm. Yeah,
I think
cuz
they will be soon. But I suspect that they're going to time the Ubisoft Plus drop to be with the first Game Pass drop after the first of the year.
yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, like, should we just get into it? We promised the people a
Yeah.
blowout to be the last time we talk about this.
Yeah. So just we can get into this Verge article in a minute, but
Yeah,
a little bit of some cliff notes, something that me and Josh are both excited for. Bobby Kotick is sticking around until the end of 2023, and then he's probably out. They didn't say specifically.
he is confirmed on New Year's Day. He is out of here.
Yeah. Uh, Activision games will soon be available in the UK on Ubisoft Plus. Uh, the process of bringing Activision and Blizzard games has already begun to bring them to Game Pass sometime in 2024. They already confirmed that Call of Duty and Diablo will not be on Game Pass until
Next year.
sometime next year. And they said we're going to learn more in the coming months, which is there's a lot to unpack here, Josh, just to kind of like because they can confirm things now and talk about things and
Yeah. Phil Spencer's already gone to go meet with King this past
uh-huh.
week. Him and Sarah Bond flew to, and Matt Booty. Matt Booty was there.
Matt Booty.
The three of them flew to Stockholm to meet with King, and he said he'll be meeting with the domestic teams here in the coming weeks. I suspect he wants to get those meetings in before BlizzCon on November 3rd.
Yeah.
Because there is a 0% chance Phil Spencer does not take the stage during the keynote at
Yeah.
BlizzCon.
Yeah.
And I think that's when you'll start to find out some of the plans that they have immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but man, just it's fine. It's finally through. It's finally done. This is just simply put, it's the wildest acquisition we've ever seen in video games. It's the biggest tech merger of all time.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it's so big that like for those who don't know, I work for like a enterprise tech marketing type place, and we've talked about this a couple times on our enterprise technology podcast where we deal with people like Intel and AMD and Nvidia and stuff like that. So like they were even talking about it and talking about how this will affect Microsoft in the long run.
yeah,
So
and like this is one of those acquisitions that we're not going to know the true effects of this for probably 5 to 10 years at least.
yeah,
I would say probably closer to 10,
yeah,
because it's going to take a while. We talk all the time about that quote from Jason Schreier that like a lot of AAA games take more than 4 years to make. Like it's more like 5 or 6 now, and like
yeah.
companies are desperately trying to make it not take that long, but without crunching at the same time.
Yeah, well, remember
Um,
he said if you're developing a game now, it's probably on the next generation of consoles. Like if
yeah,
you're
if
just
you're like just
starting.
pitching, if you're just now pitching a massive AAA game.
Hmm.
Um, Bobby Kotick said at one point that they have Call of Duty games planned out through 2028. I
Hmm.
think.
Yeah,
It's long been a speculation that Phil is going to transition them to an every other year franchise,
yeah,
just to get because that would mean that Call of Duty games to go to a 4 year dev cycle,
yeah,
um, which I feel is like still probably not enough, but at least it's not annualizing it. And I think like he also sees it as like, hey, we can still make that money because we can sell a second season pass.
hmm,
Then they've
yeah,
got Warzone going. They've got Call of Duty Mobile. Warzone Mobile is going to be a thing.
yeah. Which is
So
crazy to
Call
think
of
about.
Duty's not going anywhere, but I do think it's going to be less important going forward.
Yeah,
Just I think for now they're going to be like, well, let's put out a game for the next couple of years because that is going to help us make so much money back on this purchase. That
yeah,
that and King are going to make them so much money immediately.
yeah. I mean, King alone, obviously Candy Crush is still big, but they have that farming game too that is supposedly raking in the cash. What was?
Yeah, Candy Crush alone, lifetime as of like 2 years ago, had brought in like $25 billion.
Yeah,
That is insane.
yeah.
That is more
Which,
than basically any console game short of Grand Theft Auto 5,
yeah,
maybe Minecraft.
yeah. And that was 2 years ago. Imagine what they've brought in now, right?
Yeah, like people clown on that all the time, but like this was a huge reason for the purchase. They wanted King's revenue stream,
Yeah,
and I do think that King will shift from being like a match 3 developer, which are games like Candy Crush and Bejeweled and whatnot, but they'll shift from that probably more towards like real mobile experiences as Xbox starts to solidify Xbox mobile plans.
yeah,
I think that we hear about Xbox mobile plans as early as maybe next fall, maybe this time next year. We're hearing about it.
yeah. I would imagine.
It wouldn't be the biggest surprise to me. They pretty clearly want that off the ground first.
Yeah,
It's going to take a while because they're going to have to root out all of the shit at Blizzard and probably at the top of the ladder at Activision corporate that
yeah,
enabled a lot of it. They're gonna
yeah,
have to root out a lot of that. We've said that like, oh, they're gonna go and free some of these teams right away. The Toys for Bob founder was quoted like a year or two ago as saying that he would love to revive Spyro and Banjo Kazooie if he was given the choice.
yeah. That'd be
That he
dude. They
thinks
would
that
be a
both of
great
them,
studio for
yeah,
Banjo.
Both of them need modern entries. He says, there's new gamers who have never experienced these games, and they need new entries.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you and I both fully support.
Yes.
We support both of these free toys for Bob. I
The,
think the biggest thing for me out of this trailer was they acknowledged Spyro the Dragon,
yeah. Totally
but
did.
also they showed Tony Hawk like 3 different times.
I know. I wonder if they like think about Vicarious Visions is coming back out, or even keep them as Blizzard Albany or whatever they are, but like they can still work on this, right? I mean,
Yeah, so I feel like I think Vicarious Visions is too far gone at this point.
yeah, because didn't
They've
the studio head leave?
Jen O'Neill. Jen
Yeah,
O'Neill got promoted to be head of Blizzard, co-head of Blizzard, and then left that after a couple months
yeah,
because her pay and responsibilities were drastically different from Mike Ybarra. Yeah.
hmm yeah,
Um, but Vicarious Visions it's no longer Vicarious Visions.
yeah, which is
They
sad.
are they are fully Blizzard Albany now. From my understanding, they work on Diablo up there.
Yeah,
I suspect that they do a lot of the seasonal content while the main Blizzard team that does Diablo, I think it's like is it Team 3 or Team 4 at Blizzard, one of the two that works on the Diablo franchise
hmm
is probably working on the expansions and
yeah,
like the quality of life stuff.
yeah. Well, as soon as Tony Hawk was done, they moved them straight to Diablo 2 Resurrected.
Yes, yeah,
So
they did Diablo 2 Resurrected. So I mean, they may be working on something else entirely. Who knows? I've seen some speculation that maybe they'll try to talk to, um, oh, what's their name, Tencent,
hmm
about Tencent or NetEase, whoever it is, to try and bring Diablo Immortal in house.
hmm
Break that deal if they can, like pay to get out of it. But who
man,
knows if the money's even worth it at this point to do that?
man. I mean, I know we're talking about Blizzard and stuff right now, but like I'm just thinking of all the games that they have like for mobile now, like especially from
Yeah,
Blizzard, like the two Warcraft themed games, the card game. What's the card game? Hearthstone,
Hearthstone,
uh,
Hearthstone, yeah.
Diablo, the new game that's supposedly coming out soon.
Warcraft is getting, I think it's Warcraft Arc Rumble is
Yeah,
coming out for mobile soon. It's like in beta testing on Android, I think.
yeah,
That's supposed to launch on the day of BlizzCon, I think.
yeah, yeah. That would make
So I
sense.
have it pre-ordered on my iPad so that I can play it right away. But yeah, I mean, like Hearthstone, Diablo Immortal, Arc Rumble, Candy Crush, everything that King does. And
hmm
then, you look at Bethesda Mobile, we talked about them last week. They've got some games over there. Like, you've got a nice little mobile suite developing. And then on top of all that, you have Minecraft Mobile as part of it.
Right.
As kind of like that and Hearthstone are like your centerpieces.
Yeah.
Like, those are the games with the kind of engagement that Microsoft wants a billion of.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I didn't.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't put it on the dock, but Minecraft hit 300 million unit or something ridiculous sold. Like the amount of units that were sold. I forget what the unit measure was, but they've sold a ton of Minecraft and they hit another milestone. So, I
Yeah,
mean, it's still
like
big.
200 million copies of
Yes.
Minecraft.
That.
Wild, absolutely
It's
wild.
ridiculous.
But that like these are the reasons they go and invest in studios like Mojang and now Activision Blizzard and whatnot.
Yeah.
But you look at some of these studios, like some of these studios have grown since the acquisition was announced to be happening. Like Beanox just opened a second studio like last month or something,
Yeah.
a couple months ago. Beanox had people that worked on Tony Hawk Pro Skater. They helped finish up when Vicarious Visions was announced to be joining Blizzard.
hmm
Kind of did like QOL stuff. Guitar Hero was announced to be like not formally announced, but like Bobby Kotick floated that as something that like they
Yeah.
have the tech to like do a new version of now. We were speculating like where do we think it was going to end? We both said Treyarch. I actually think Beanox would probably be the studio that could handle that.
Yeah.
I think they're going to let Beanox probably handle. We said we were going to do some speculation this week. Be like, Toys for Bob. That's obvious. That's
hmm
they're going to go back to platformers.
Yeah.
Microsoft really wants a family-friendly studio. There you go. You've got it in Toys for Bob. You've got one of the best you could like outside of like Traveler's Tales. You probably got the best one you could have gotten on the market.
Yeah.
That's not Nintendo owned, I should say.
Yeah.
Beanox feels like, oh, we could do Guitar Hero and Pro Skater, and they could still help with Call of Duty
Yeah.
because they have over 500 employees.
hmm
Like, you don't need all those 500 people working on just Call of Duty maps. You just
Yeah.
straight up don't.
Yeah.
kind of free some of these studios. High Moon, I think, unfortunately, is the odd man out here.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I know that studio's changed so much since War for
yeah,
Cybertron came out, but like, man, those games are just top tier.
I saw Ryan McCaffrey say that one of his dream things would be if talking about like how these IP are going to be available to whoever wants to make them. That was a Phil Spencer quote,
Mhm.
and he's not just going to limit them to the teams that originally made them. He says, "I would love to see High Moon be given Mech Assault,
Oh yeah, that'd be cool, man.
and that he'd love for Machine Games to get Hexen."
Yeah, well, Hexen makes sense for that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
either them or it, I guess.
Well, and then he was like, trying to like figure out like dream projects. Obviously, Toys for Bob, Banjo Kazooie.
Mhm.
So that I feel High Moon's probably the odd man out. They're probably doomed to be a support studio for now, at least. There's nothing that says they can't staff them up in the future, but for the immediate future, they're probably the one that doesn't get pulled off because, like you said, they've changed so much.
Mhm.
They've been a support studio for so long. Raven, kind of a similar fate. I feel like
Mhm.
they could probably peel some people off there to make a second team, but
Yeah,
they're the primary Warzone dev.
yeah. I was gonna say, isn't Warzone theirs? Like,
Yep, Warzone is theirs. The big three that Activision has: Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer, and Treyarch. Infinity Ward and Treyarch are probably still Call of Duty, but we've heard that Infinity Ward has a second team working on an RPG. That was revealed in job postings last year.
yeah,
That apparently they have a one of their smaller studios, like they have a satellite studio in Poland, is apparently working on that. So interesting if that actually comes to fruition. Interesting.
yeah,
Um, but though, and those studios are so huge, like they can largely make their games, and if they go to a 4-year dev cycle, they can probably handle it without too much extra support.
yeah.
I would say Sledgehammer's probably the one. You would think Sledgehammer's the one that's going to get freed, but then again, they've like only ever worked on Call of Duty.
Yeah,
So, like, do you then try to free Treyarch when Black Ops has been like your most consistent sub franchise for the last decade?
right. I mean, I think those three studios are like kind of locked into Call of Duty,
Man,
you
I
know, at
hope
least
not.
mostly.
I think you got to start freeing them. If you go to a 4-year dev cycle, like you can't have all three of them working on Call of Duty because
Yeah,
that just doesn't work. Then you're like expanding it to a 6-year dev cycle for Call of Duty.
right.
Like, no,
Yeah,
you would have to have, and I mean, like you could do, and theoretically you could do that, but that's like one studio is basically going to skip the entire generation.
yeah,
Like that's just I don't think they want that. I think Microsoft would like to line it up to where Infinity Ward's game launches with their that a Call of Duty game from them launches with the next console.
yeah,
Because you have Sledgehammer this year, you have Treyarch next year. Maybe you do one in 26 before you switch things, but that'd be teed up for an Infinity Ward title at that point. So like, what do you do?
yeah,
I really think they want them to have the next generation one.
yeah,
Them or Treyarch. They want one of those two to launch the first next gen one.
yeah.
Um, so
As long as it's not ghosts.
oh my god, I think that's the other fear is like, what if we have a do over of Ghosts? Like you need this. The only good one I maintain, the only good one to launch with the console was Call of Duty 2.
Yeah,
Because Ghosts was not a Black Ops Cold War was definitely an improvement, but it was also a war crime sim. So what do I fucking know? I got Ronald Reagan sending me on missions over here. Uh, almost as egregious as Robert McNamara sending me on stuff in Black Ops. Blizzard, I think Blizzard is ultimately like the more interesting one.
hmm
Heart, what was it? Heroes of the Storm got a massive QOL patch today.
Yeah, for
After they said that they said like last year they were done. They no more development on this. We're done. I wonder if that was like one of the first calls Phil made was, "Hey, get this shit going again."
yeah. That sounds like something Phil would want, right? I mean,
Because I mean, like you have so much potential with Hearthstone too. Like I know that Hearthstone or not Hearthstone, God, Heroes of the Storm. You have so much potential you can do there. Like I know that it just features Blizzard characters, but you have a treasure trove of Microsoft IPs now that could fit with that. Like, why can't you put Master Chief, Marcus Phoenix, Doom Guy?
yeah,
Why can't they be in Heroes of the Storm?
yeah, yeah.
You could
The
put
Battle
Diablo
Toads.
like oh god, fucking Battletoads. Like even Lilith and Anarius from Diablo 4.
Yeah.
Like, why can't you, put them in there? There is so much you can do. And with Blizzard, there's so many rumors, and I feel like we're going to get a lot of stuff confirmed at BlizzCon. Like, if they're going to announce a Heroes of the Storm revival, that's where it's getting announced.
Yeah.
If the survival MMO RPG, whatever it is ready to be announced, that's where it's getting announced.
Yeah.
StarCraft 3, that's where it would be announced. Like, I feel like when it comes to Blizzard stuff, they're short of like quality of life stuff, or like, oh, we have a big expansion to like actually show you, or we announced it at BlizzCon and we're doing like a deeper dive during our summer showcase. I feel like BlizzCon is still going to continue to be a thing for quite a while,
Yeah.
because we forget, like, they not only inherit BlizzCon as an event, Microsoft also owns Major League Gaming now,
Yeah.
and that also means that they will be running Call of Duty League and Overwatch League. I really hope they take the people who run those events and have them take over HCS going forward,
Yeah.
because I like Halo, but man, it could be so much better. And part of that's because of how Infinite is set up, right?
Yeah.
But it's just watching the World Championships was really a frustrating experience this year.
Yeah.
So you've got plenty of properties there, I think, to keep growing these brands. Gears flirts with esports. There's Gears championships that happen.
Yeah.
If you're
Man.
if you're resurrecting Killer Instinct, there you go. Even though Killer Instinct will probably be an Evo title, if
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Just there's so many things you can do here, like, and they've essentially said that, like, in regards to Blizzard IPs, because Blizzard is like so finicky with how they use their IPs. Like, Warcraft hasn't seen a game that's not WoW in 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, you
The
got like,
last real Warcraft that came out that was not WoW came out when I was 9,
yeah.
and
I totally forgot about WoW.
I remember Warcraft 3.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember World of Warcraft 3 being a huge deal. So.
And it's going to be a pretty big deal, I think, with I just lost my train of thought. I think that WoW is still going to be a pretty big deal going forward for them, but I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft is like, hey, this is a 20-year-old RPG. Maybe we think about winding it down a little.
Yeah. You think they'd
As we
ever do
approach
WoW
the end of
2?
this generation. I think like that and ESO are both going to face that approaching the end of the generation.
Yeah.
But I think that Microsoft is reluctant to wind them down because those games have such established player bases.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee that you get them if you do a second game.
Yeah. I mean, you could almost run them simultaneously for a while. The way that
they almost certainly will for the rest of the generation. They almost certainly will.
Yeah.
And I think like part of that's because WoW is a PC only audience.
Yeah.
I
meant like if you watched WoW 2, launched WoW 2, you could run WoW 1 simultaneously with WoW.
Oh, yeah. You could definitely do that. I think now there's also more competition. That's the word I'm looking for. There's more competition now.
Yeah.
Because in the olden days, the attention for WoW, there were a bunch of MMOs that launched in the years after WoW, and none of them succeeded in taking players away. EverQuest was a thing before WoW. EverQuest 2 came out, never really reached the popularity of the first one, I don't think.
And then
Star Wars Galaxies made a valiant effort.
Yeah.
The Old Republic is somehow still going strong. I don't know if strong's the right word. It's still going, but work is winding down on it at this point. So I think there's questions about the longevity of, WoW. We know it's not the powerhouse it used to be, but it still pulls in millions of players.
Yeah.
On a regular basis. It is still a subscription based game. I've seen some be like, "Oh, could we finally get WoW on Xbox?" Buddy, those have been rumors since the Xbox 360. I don't think it's happening.
Yeah, I don't think WoW's coming.
No, and I don't think that the Xbox audience really wants it, to be frank. If you want it, you're going to go play it on PC. Yeah. Anyone who wants to play WoW is already playing it or has already gone through their WoW addiction.
Yeah.
Most of us did it around time of Burning Crusade and Lich King, frankly.
Yeah.
So I do wonder if when they inevitably make StarCraft 3, will that come to consoles right away? Are they going to build that with consoles in mind like they did Diablo, even though they're totally different games? StarCraft is an RTS.
Mm-hmm.
Will they take a page out of some of these other RTSs that we've seen, and like Age of Empires, they could easily bring in the team at World's Edge to help them,
Yeah.
optimize for console.
Yeah.
Could that be a thing that we see?
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
there's plenty of RTS examples out there that they could pull from. I mean, even Halo Wars, right? I mean, you know. Well, Josh, is there anything else you want to hit on for this?
um, I don't think so. I think I really hope that we stop seeing like the now that Phil has publicly made a comment. Microsoft's going to have to keep doing this every time they do an event until they actually announce when the games are coming to Game Pass. I really want to stop seeing speculation about this
Yeah.
because I'm kind of over it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really care when these games come to Game Pass. They're going to do it eventually. Just stop. Just stop it. Just let us, I don't know, like get through this year. Like Microsoft pretty clearly it's not ready to do this right away. They know they have a decent Game Pass lineup this fall. I mean, you look at next month or over the next month alone, we're going to talk about some of them later. You have several great indies. You have Persona 5 Tactics coming next month. And on top of that, they really want the revenue from Modern Warfare 3 and Diablo 4 through Christmas. They really, really want that.
Mm-hmm.
I expect Diablo 4 to be a huge Black Friday sale game.
Yeah.
So like they clearly want to drive engagement there. Diablo 4 is probably on Game Pass, not in the first drop, but probably by like mid-March, I would say. They're gonna do this in waves,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, and obviously like the heavy hitters might be the last few games. So they have like if they need to delay something, they'll be like, "Oh, Diablo's on Game Pass now," or you know what I mean? So,
yeah, they're gonna make a huge deal out of that. I suspect that they will put Diablo 2 and 3 on there right away, along with Diablo 1 coming to PC.
yeah.
That's the other thing is like this is almost a bigger deal for PC Game Pass because now you can put the classic Diablos, you can put the classic StarCrafts, you can put the classic Warcrafts, and like the actual versions of these games and not the classic ones that they've made that are dog shit.
Yeah.
My question is, and this is kind of a joking question. We got Doom 64 brought to modern consoles. Can I get StarCraft 64 brought to modern consoles? Your StarCraft was an N64 game.
Yeah. That's so crazy.
That was my first exposure to a Blizzard game. I played StarCraft 64 when I was like 8 years old and I did not understand what was going on.
Mm.
And then I got Warcraft 3 a year later and my life changed forever. I'd love to see them return to in terms of like Blizzard games. You got to think that saving Overwatch is probably at the top of their list. Saving Overwatch and Hearthstone. Overwatch is way too valuable of an IP to not, make the best of.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I StarCraft Ghost confirmed.
we joked about it, but holy shit, the Rangers are up 8-2 in the top of the fourth. I fucking love this team. I that was your quick baseball note from me, who has the play-by-play up on my other screen right now. No, I like non-jokingly, I really think that a StarCraft FPS probably goes into production as like maybe a second title from the Overwatch team. If like Microsoft deems that Overwatch 2 is just a lost cause. I would really like to see that team though, with Microsoft's backing now, go, no. Let's give you guys let's give you guys the story mode, the single player story you were promised.
Yeah.
Let's give you guys that. Like, let's look at what you already have and let's refine it. We don't care if it takes like a year and a half. We need Overwatch to be a valuable IP again, very badly.
Yeah. Never mind. I don't think they would do that, so I'm not even gonna
What?
bring it up.
Hit me.
I was gonna say as like a some sort of goodwill or some sort of like marketing thing. Do you think they would change it back to just Overwatch instead of Overwatch 2 ever?
No, because I mean, when you distinctly launch a separate product, like, and I know that in theory it's not like radically different. It's the same gameplay with like one less player essentially.
Yeah.
But it's already been branded as that. I don't think you can do that. Like
Yeah.
something like Destiny that's gone on for like 10 years now, Destiny 2, like You could, when you say, hey, we're transitioning to the next iteration of this game, let's, instead of calling it Destiny 3 and confusing, let's just go back to Destiny. Let's bring everything to the cloud. Like, I think that's a little bit different. Kind of like how there was never a World of Warcraft 2, but there's been like 20 expansions.
Yeah.
Um, I think that would be like the smartest thing. Like the play was to just not do Overwatch 2
Yeah.
and abandon Overwatch 1 to its fate.
Yeah. I mean,
So
it's the same client. They just updated the client to say Overwatch 2. It's basically
it's
a
so bad.
patch.
It's so bad. I don't think they can, because going back would mean that like if you rebrand it to Overwatch, people are like, well, it's gonna play like Overwatch 1, and like we're gonna go back to no season passes and stuff like that. That shit's not happening.
Yeah.
I don't see him doing it, but I do see Microsoft being like, listen, we saved Sea of Thieves. If we can save Sea of Thieves, and if we can fix Halo Infinite and Master Chief Collection, we can do this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm excited and cautiously optimistic for what the future holds, though, with this acquisition.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna drill it into everybody again. I still don't like this overall.
Hmm.
I think that spending 69, well, much more than 69 billion now. I think it's got up to like 73 billion when it closed with all
Yeah.
the delays and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I think that is a little ridiculous. Not a little. I think it is ridiculous. I don't, but I'm not opposed to it for like consolidation concerns.
Yeah.
It's rather, I think that Microsoft now has too many major IP to
Hmm.
be able to service them correctly. They were
Yeah.
already going to struggle with the ones they had.
Yeah. That was my concern too. Of like, look how many studios and, you know, now they have 3 separate publishing arms
Yeah.
technically, and like, how are they going to manage all this? Because I mean, they had a hard time before all these, even before all the other acquisitions. Like, how, I hope they know
Mhm.
what they're doing and they can put the right people in the right spots, and, they have good management, right? Because that's something they have been lacking in terms of
Yes.
managing the IP in the studios. Not necessarily like, we all
Well,
love
like,
Phil, we all love Sarah, right? But like,
yeah.
the studio management has been questionable for a while.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, oh well, I feel like that was like just kind of like a Bethesda issue because they stayed off hands, and then you remember the 343 debacle. Undead Labs had problems. It feels like the European studios have their shit together.
Yeah.
If you're a non-US studio, you probably have your shit together at this point, and
Yeah, I
you're
mean the
Microsoft.
coalition is Canadian, so
They've got their stuff together. Ninja Theory has. My problem is like I think that Phil has like a little bit too loose of a grip on these studios. Like
Mhm.
I'm not saying like put the foot on the neck, but I am saying like okay, Ninja Theory probably shouldn't have been allowed to fuck around for 2 years in pre-production
Right.
before actually starting on Hellblade 2. Like
Yeah.
that got announced with the console. That comes with the expectation that game from gamers. That comes with the expectation that that is going to be something that
Like a launch
is
window
out.
game.
Yeah, that's gonna be a launch window. Like you look at the PS5 reveal, and every one of those games was a launch window game.
Yeah.
The only one that didn't come out was Horizon. Horizon got delayed by about 9 months or so, but
Yeah.
that was still like they were trying real hard to make that, and just went, fuck it, we'll punt it a year,"
Yeah.
which ended up being the smartest move for that game because then granted it had to go up against Elden Ring, but it still got its time to shine.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's the other thing is like Microsoft is with all these studios now, they're gonna have to like Matt Booty is really nice saying, "Oh yeah, we're aiming for one game a quarter." Buddy, I don't know if you've looked at how many studios are under the Xbox banner now, but that's not, if that's what's happening, these games are in production for like 9 years.
Yeah, there should be at
There's going to
least.
be like you're eventually going to hit because we so many of these games have been delayed, and then you have to incorporate what Activision was already working on.
Yeah.
You're going to hit a critical mass maybe as early as 2024 where you're going to have to put games out within like 6 weeks of each other.
Yeah. Almost like a Nintendo kind of, release schedule, right? I mean, they put stuff out like every 6 to 8 weeks at least. So,
Yeah, I mean you're gonna have to do it. Like I would expect to see like a more Nintendo like release schedule from Microsoft going forward, especially as you near the end of the generation.
yeah.
And all these studios are really like working in sync and things like because it's not just they're very much borrowing from the Nintendo playbook, these studios aren't just working on one game. Like you have things like Obsidian who are working on 3 or 4 titles, and a couple of those are smaller ones. You have Double Fine who is supposedly working on multiple new IP. And we know that games go into like light pre-production, and like they're being explored, you know, and a lot of those never see the light of day.
Right.
But I forget what the terminology is. I'm completely blanking on it. But like games will go into like some light pre-production, and then they don't make it out. We never actually hear about these games. You only find out about them because of job listings,
Yeah.
and they never make it past the concept phase or like past the like pre-alpha.
Hmm.
And like I saw a Ubisoft designer talking about this today. They said in the time that they were an artist at Ubisoft, they worked on 5 different original IPs that were all canned, and they were never announced, and so they can't use that art to get a job in the industry.
Jeez.
And they're like, I wonder if anybody is still left. And this was like years and years ago.
Yeah.
But they were like, this was years ago, and like, I wonder if I could use that art now, like to get other jobs
Yeah.
genuinely, because like nobody is still there that remembers these games.
Yeah.
So like, I know I have an NDA and this and that, but you look at what this means for a service like Game Pass. And I do think with Activision Blizzard now, once these start getting in sync, I do think over like in sometime in the next year and a half to 2 years, I would say by the end of 2025, you're probably going to see significantly less third party day one games. Like
Yeah.
right now, you're getting things like Persona 3 Reload. That's a
Hmm.
huge game to get day one. You're getting Like a Dragon Gaiden next month, and Persona 5 Tactics. We've gotten Outriders in the past. You've gotten what were some of the other ones? You got Payday 3 this year. Um, but if you have games coming out on a regular basis from all these studios, and you own what used to be 2 of the biggest third party publishers, what do you do? Like what do you even do at that point?
Right.
So I think that the answer is, you make Game Pass pretty much your titles from Xbox, Activision, Blizzard, King, and Bethesda. And then, which it sounds a little ridiculous when you line it all up like that, right?
Hmm.
And then you go, oh, let's let's still continue putting ID at Xbox games on here because we can afford to do that.
Yeah.
But you stop focusing less on them. Like maybe you like only focus on like some JRPGs because those historically have a rough time getting traction here.
Yeah. I mean, like the
You
Sega
know,
stuff that's going on right now is like a
yeah,
good
they have a long term deal
compromise,
with
right?
Sega, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like you're putting Like a Dragon on there, or like Persona spin-offs. Like I don't Persona 6 will never be on their day one.
Yeah.
That is such a massive, massive game. And at this point, you've put 4 Persona games on there. Like, if people aren't interested now, they're never gonna be.
Yeah. Well, 5
But there is
technically.
another Persona in production, another spinoff for next year that probably comes right away.
Yeah.
But they
Hmm.
were very clear, like that new IP that they showed off at the summer showcase is not coming to Game Pass.
Yeah.
So like, but I think that like you don't get those games coming to Xbox, and especially not being shown on their stage without the success of these deals that Sarah has been going and making.
Right.
Phil's been really clear, like we don't get a lot of the Japanese deals. We don't get the Square deal without her.
Yeah.
Essentially, we don't get a Square partnership. They don't come back into the fold. You probably don't get Atlas and RGG on there either. So lot of stuff here to digest and think about, like strategy wise for the next couple of years for the brand. But I mean, just immediately, like Xbox probably isn't going to change that much. I would not expect any major changes from Activision for a while. Blizzard is where I think all the efforts go immediately, and that probably results in Rod Ferguson getting promoted.
Hmm.
If I had to guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Josh, I think we should move over to a Bethesda news story.
We probably should. Let's talk about the other major acquisition that they've done in the last couple of years.
We're all a fan of Pete Hines.
We love Uncle Pete.
Yeah. But it's sad to say that he's stepping down and retiring from Bethesda.
He is retiring. They were very clear to use the terminology retiring and not just leaving Bethesda.
Yeah.
So none of these no bullshit rumors about him joining another studio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's man. I mean, I'm glad he kind of stuck it out through Starfield, but I feel like Starfield is like a good
I think that
exit
was a
point.
good jumping off point. Yeah, that represents like the new unknown, I think. Um and making it to where like when you get to the end of Starfield when the credits roll, the first thing it says is for Robert Altman. Pete obviously worked very close with him over the years. Like this does not surprise me that he's stepping back and stepping down. Um, it just kind of I think also speaks to a little bit of like Pete was kind of in over his head. He went from being the guy who did like their marketing and comms to like all of a sudden he's being expected to be like the face of this studio in a way like he's been a face before but like in a much more fun way. Now he's having to be it like in a serious way. And I don't think he was quite prepared for that. Personally, I think that part of what you're seeing with Phil stepping down is also some of those emails that were made public in the court document error by Microsoft back in September. It's not a huge secret that Pete was not particularly happy about how Microsoft was publicly announcing deals or surrounding Call of Duty and being like, "Oh yeah, Call of Duty is going to continue to be multi-platform." In some of the emails, Pete was like, "I don't understand why we can't get the same deal for Elder Scrolls. This is going to be really annoying. Every time Todd goes somewhere, Todd's going to be asked about, well, why is Call of Duty coming to PlayStation and Elder Scrolls and Starfield aren't?" And it just seemed like he was really frustrated about that. I don't think that he liked that upper management for Bethesda was thrown under, I mean, correctly or incorrectly thrown under the bus for the mismanagement of Redfall
Yeah,
either because that seemed like a game he was actually very excited for. I mean, you gotta remember that was the first brand new game they announced after the merger, like 3 months after the acquisition was final. They announced Redfall.
yeah,
It
that
was the game that
cool.
closed out E3.
Yeah, that trailer was really cool too.
It's just like I think that a lot of stuff really added up for him, but this is the second high profile departure from Bethesda in recent memory. Shinji Mikami, as you remember, was the other one this spring.
Hmm.
This past spring and into early summer. Shinji Mikami was the other one. Except he explicitly was not retiring. He just left the studio. And I think that's why it's important that we got the distinction here.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if Pete still works in games. He's almost certainly still going to be like an off the books advisor to
yeah,
whoever runs Bethesda and to Todd especially.
yeah,
Um, but I do think, and we forget like these 25 years is a lot of time to be in games.
yeah.
Well, 24, but
At
even
the
if you look
same
at that 20
studio too.
at the same studio, you look back 24 years. Corey, I'm 31. This dude's been working at Bethesda since I was 7.
Yeah.
Like Daggerfall had just come out.
Hmm.
So,
That's that's crazy, man. 24 years. Uh, Look, I don't blame him for leaving. I know a lot of people kind of leave when these sorts of things happen, and you get deals to stay on for a little bit, right? And I wonder if this was like the end of that deal, so he could collect, his bonus or whatever, and then
yeah, it's largely thought that this is the result of like maybe his shares finally vested with Microsoft or something.
yeah,
But I genuinely do think he wanted to stay on to see Starfield through.
yeah, I do too.
That was kind of the last brainchild of Robert Altman, and
Hmm.
like really represents like the first real like classic Bethesda experience we've gotten in so many years.
Yeah,
Because 76 wasn't. It's known that him and Todd were not happy with 76. That was ordered from the top. So
yeah.
yeah,
I'm uh I'm kind of sad to see him go. I thought he would have been. I honestly thought he was going to take over marketing for Xbox, and Aaron Greenberg would leave first. To be honest,
I'm going to be honest. I would have preferred that, but
that's
yeah, it's a big loss. But I do, and I think there is going to be a positive that comes out of this. As much as I hate to say it, I hate to see Pete go, but Pete also seemed to really hold a gigantic ass grudge against certain journalists and outlets over the Fallout 4 incident.
yeah.
And that has continued all the way up to Starfield.
Hmm.
And I wonder if part of this is also that like Phil kind of got tired of that getting brought up every fucking time a game came out.
Yeah,
Because a lot of people were like, "Oh, I thought Microsoft would change things." And it's like, no, he was very clear that Bethesda's going to be allowed to run their own things. now with Pete leaving and not being in charge of, comms anymore, I genuinely wonder if that'll change.
Yeah.
It's always good when you don't know the name of the comms person at the company. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
We should never have to know the director of communications at a studio. Pete is a little different because they always put him on stage, right?
Yeah.
But like ideally you don't want to know him or Aaron Greenberg.
Yeah.
We don't know Sony's head of comms and marketing and stuff. We don't know Nintendo's.
Yeah.
We unfortunately know the ones at Microsoft.
Yeah.
It's usually not a good sign when we know this stuff.
Yeah, but I would also argue that Xbox is more personality driven, and so is Bethesda over the years than, Nintendo or like current Sony. I mean, PS4 Sony was different, right? I mean, they had, and PS3 especially, right, with like Kevin Butler. I know that was a fake character, but and like Shuhei Yoshida and uh what's the guy that left that went to Iron Galaxy? What's his name? The guy that was in
Oh
the
god,
trading
Adam
game.
Boyce.
Yeah, Adam
Adam
Boyce.
Boyce.
Yeah. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. I
I
just
love
think
Adam Boyce.
I know. I just think of the here's how you trade games with your friends video, which was so
I mean that is one of the all-time greatest marketing stunts, and they recorded it backstage at E3.
I know. It was so good.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah,
No notes, even as an Xbox fan, that video still haunts Microsoft to this day.
I know. It totally like erased the $599 for PS3.
Oh yeah, and I mean like you look at all the things that Microsoft has done in the years since, like all the great things that they've done, and they've still never escaped that.
I know. And I don't think they will for a while either, right? I mean, unless these games
Ever.
start really like banger after banger after banger after banger, right? Like
Yeah. Well, because that was something that, like, even with that video, like, a lot of us were still like, okay, yeah, haha, that was really funny. And, like, hey, the Xbox One, like, stuff kind of sucks.
yeah.
But at the same time, you're looking at this and you're going, where are the games that we were promised for PlayStation? And once those started coming,
Mhm.
that was it.
Yeah.
But it took us well into the generation to get a lot of those.
Yeah.
Like, it really didn't start until Horizon came out, I would say. Like, you had two hits before that in Uncharted 4 and Bloodborne.
Yeah.
But Bloodborne was more of a critical darling than a sales darling for the longest time.
Yeah.
It really took it coming to PS Plus collection for people to be like, oh my god, this is like the greatest thing I've ever played.
Yeah. I don't really Yeah, I mean, I think we're kind of going through that with PS5 too, where like there aren't very many like exclusives, but the ones that have come out are, considered bangers, you
I
know?
mean, yeah, I would still say like they have really good production for the studios that they have. It's just like so many of those studios are still reloading from the last year of the PS5, free PS4 and into the beginning of the PS5.
Right.
Like you look at that launch window they had in just what 2020 looked like.
Yeah.
You had Dreams, you had The Last of Us Part 2, you had Ghost of Tsushima, and then for cross-gen games, you have Miles Morales, you have Sackboy's Big Adventure, and on PS5 you have Astro's Playroom and the Demon Souls remake from Bluepoint.
Hmm.
Like at what point at what point do we say okay, these studios have to take time to reload, especially a studio like Naughty Dog that takes like 6 years to make a game already?
Right. And that
Like
when did Last of Us Part 2 come out? 2020?
that was 2020, and then they remade part 1 for PS5 and PC last year.
Hmm.
They took that over from the VRR studio that they had, like their not VRR, but their behind the scenes studio that
Yeah.
helps out
Yeah.
was supposedly making that, and they took that over. They consistently put out the show, so that's one entire studio.
Yeah.
Polyphony just does whatever Polyphony does.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that surprising ultimately.
Yeah.
But when they put out a game, everything stops because it's going to be the most highly produced game of the entire year.
Yeah.
Forbidden West. Forbidden West was like that. It was this incredible experience. Spider-Man 2 was that this year. God of War was that last year, and
Hmm.
it's been 12 months since we had another PlayStation exclusive, but notice none of us were like, oh, PlayStation's in trouble this year. Like, no, this is a reload year. They launched VR2 in the spring and it's a reload year.
Hmm. And
Like next year I expect them to be more competitive.
and that's the difference, right? That
Yeah.
like it's not that Xbox isn't putting out games; they're just putting out either well, I guess last year they didn't really put out anything except for Pentiment and release Grounded 2 or 1.0, but like, when the Xbox launched, it was banger after banger after banger, right? Like, Psychonauts 2, I know it was cross platform, but Psychonauts 2, Halo, Horizon, Forza Horizon, uh, Gears or Gears Tactics the year before, right? And Flight Simulator, like they had amazing games, but like Xbox still
They
has
were
that
all like double
reputation.
A's.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
they were more double A's. Like
yeah,
they lacked like that big banger.
yeah,
And like you got that in 2021. You got Halo Infinite. Despite what people will say about the year of it after, that launch was a success.
yeah, dude, releasing the free to play multiplayer early, and like I'd still stand by Halo Infinite's campaign was really good.
Oh, I 100% stand by the campaign.
Yeah,
I think the people who don't like the campaign are either Halo purists or just look for things to complain. I thought that was probably the best campaign that we, and I really love Halo 4's campaign too.
yeah,
I'm an apologist for it. It's probably the best Halo campaign we've gotten since 3,
yeah,
but I'm also like not super high on Reach either.
yeah. I
Um,
wasn't high on Reach either.
but I mean, like that year in 2021, and we forget like when we say Xbox, like that also like that includes their PC games. Like as much as
Hmm.
you may hate to admit it, like
Age
so
of
you have Age of
Empires.
Empires 4, you got Flight Sim, you got Psychonauts 2, Flight Sim or Forza Horizon 5, not Flight Sim 5, and Halo Infinite, all in like a 4 month span.
Yeah.
That was incredible. That was
Hmm.
incredible to see. And it's like, oh, this is awesome. And like you have Deathloop come out, which technically is a PS5 game. You have and that comes the next year and stuff. You have Ghostwire released this year on Xbox, and the year before on PlayStation, and like they're getting into that groove finally. You had Hi-Fi Rush come out this year, and like Hi-Fi Rush is getting more visibility. One, because of its release method, but two, there's other big games, so people are already checking that out, and like that keeps being a game that is brought up throughout the year because like it's like, hey, this is something we never expected to see from Tango or
Yeah.
from Microsoft.
Right.
So we read that awesome interview with Tango on the last episode, and just to see something like that come from a predominantly horror studio,
Right.
it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like, I know they kind of would have been screwed without Bethesda this year, but they had 4 pretty
Yeah.
banger games come out this year too. Well, 3, I guess, and then one nobody really wants to talk about, right? But like Hi-Fi,
Yeah, I
Starfield, and
mean,
Forza are all like, people love those games. So
we have those. You had Age of Empires 2 brought to console, and they even launched a brand new expansion for this game that's years old.
yeah,
They launched an expansion for it this year. They bring GoldenEye to modern consoles. They had Minecraft Legends earlier this year. Like,
oh yeah, I
yeah,
forgot about
not everything's a
Minecraft.
10 out of 10. Yeah, well, a lot of people did. It didn't get the attention that Dungeons did for obvious reasons.
Hmm.
You have Age of Empires 4 finally came to console.
Yeah,
Like there are plenty of things that they have done this year, and it's like, and yet it does underscore that, hey, they were kind of screwed without Bethesda, and I think they kind of knew that. Like, even though they were buying up all these smaller studios, it's like we've always said, it takes time to get things into the pipeline. So
hmm, yeah. I think 2024 is going to be massive for all
I hope so.
all the like all sides of this company now. Um, but yeah, Pete
Well, I mean,
Hines.
Pete Hines is gone, but speaking of things that we really would like to see greenlit, Josh Sawyer talked again about Pillars of Eternity 3 this week, Corey.
I know. I mean, we talked about it a little bit on Tower Casuals, but like, man, I know
I
he
really
kind.
need this to be a reality.
I would you expect Microsoft to put so the story here is that Josh Sawyer wants to make Pillars of Eternity 3 if there's a Baldur's Gate type budget for it, right? That's kind of the gist of the story. Would you expect Microsoft to give him that much money to make Pillars 3?
No, not even close. I think that expecting maybe 25 is a lot more realistic.
Hmm.
And I could see Microsoft giving 20 to 25 to make this.
Hmm.
The fact is, Baldur's Gate 3 was kind of a lightning in a bottle moment, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of people who don't normally play ARPGs played it because they basically heard it was Dungeons and Dragons, the video game. And
Yeah.
it helps that it's taken directly from D&D 5e. That helps a lot too.
Yeah.
But it had 3 years of early access.
Right.
Like 3 years of early access is going to get you a lot of leeway. they had funding. Like Larian is not a poor studio by any means, but they also had the backing of Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah.
Like this, it's totally different from Pillars. Like Josh Sawyer was kind of comparing the budget. And he was like, "We made Pillars 2 on a $4.4 million budget,
Right.
and that was almost entirely crowdfunded, from what I remember."
Yeah.
I think that Microsoft would definitely back it more. I don't think that a $10 million, like like 10 to 15 million, I don't think. I think that would be a no brainer. But I do think that part of the reason you haven't gotten it is Josh was very public after Deadfire failed in terms of sales,
Yeah.
and was like, I don't know if I can bring myself to make another one of these. Like, this is kind of soul crushing. It reviewed so well. A lot of people called it Obsidian's best game yet, and yet people didn't play it because it was an ARPG. It especially flopped on console.
Hmm.
And I think that was part of the soul crusher, is those games were not popular on console. I played them on Xbox and loved them, but and I would do unspeakable acts for a Pillars 3. But he also said that he kind of sees that like Avowed is the next step for that franchise.
Yeah.
I think the success of Baldur's Gate 3 will get, I think that has got Microsoft looking at this again and going, okay,
Yeah.
we can also bring in some people to help from Blizzard now if we need some extra support.
Yeah.
So when you look at how good the overworld looks in Diablo 4,
Hmm.
and I know they're completely different types of games, but you look at that and you're like, damn, they could help with some of the environment work maybe. So like Obsidian could just focus on gameplay. And like, I don't think that's totally out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
He did emphatically say that he will not do a sequel to Pentiment. That, you know, that's an over and done story, and I totally agree with that. There should not be another one. That was again a lightning in a bottle moment.
Yeah.
Um, that worked once; it won't work again. It's truly one of the most visually unique games I've ever seen, and amazing storytelling. It's a very niche game though. Like that's the kind of game you can make and put out on Game Pass and take a risk with. Pillars, I feel, fits into that same mold. If we can greenlight a Dishonored 3, we can greenlight a Pillars of Eternity 3.
Yeah.
Um, but you're also hoping that people are still going to be interested in ARPGs 4 or 5 years from now. So
Yeah.
I still think that they're making an ARPG at Obsidian in secret. There were rumors that there was a Critical Role game in development at one point. It wasn't confirmed to be that it was Obsidian circling the rumor, but it would have made sense,
Yeah.
considering they did a character pack for Pillars of Eternity 2.
Yeah.
Um, if they did a partnership there, it would be great. I would be very happy. But who knows?
Yeah. I hope he gets to make a. I mean, I know Avowed's coming. I'm pretty excited to see how that game turns out. But
Extremely excited for Avowed.
I wonder what the success of Baldur's Gate 3 and if Avowed is, an 8 or a 9 and people like it. I wonder how much that would influence getting a Pillars 3
I
greenlit.
think like my concern with Avowed has always been the same. I really didn't have this concern until they bought Obsidian, or not Obsidian, Bethesda, because now you have Avowed, you have Fable, and you have Elder Scrolls 6 all on deck.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fantasy RPGs to have under your umbrella. Like, at least Pillars was an ARPG, so it was a little bit different, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that Fable and Elder Scrolls are totally different types of RPG, but the fact remains, you see 3 like fantasy style RPGs, and you're like, okay, we've got enough of these. Project Dragon is supposedly in development from IOI.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not even counting that the next installment. There's like 3 Witcher games in development, and Dragon Age, and now you're adding Warcraft. You're adding Warcraft and Diablo into this as well now, and it's like, okay, how many more games can we like cram in, like all the different kinds of RPGs?
Right.
Xbox has pretty rapidly become the RPG place.
Yeah.
So I hope that they make Pillars 3, but the fact that Josh Sawyer is actually talking about it now gives me hope that it'll be made at some point. We don't know what his project after Pentiment is. I doubt he's just sat on his ass all year.
Oh, yeah.
I really, really hope that he has convinced somebody there to pivot into Pillars 3.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's Obsidian's bread and butter for so long was ARPGs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we always talk about studios working, with each other, crossing lines. Like In Exile is right down the street from Obsidian.
Hmm.
You know, maybe get In Exile to collaborate with you. They make great ARPGs over there. Wasteland
Yeah.
3 was an amazing game.
Yeah. Well, they were
So
both born out of what was it?
Interplay.
Yeah, but more specifically like Black Isle, right? I mean,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
I
Yes.
almost said Idle Hands. I'm like,
Yes.
that's a podcast. Whoops. Um, yeah, I hope something like this comes around. I don't think there are enough ARPGs, but also like you said, they're pretty niche. So, uh, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I just hope so. I hope that he's working on something he really wants, though. I mean, you look at the games that he's been the lead designer on or the director of, and I mean, it's some great pedigree. Icewind Dale 2, which was one of the last games from Black Isle, Neverwinter Nights 2,
Hmm.
Fallout New Vegas is probably the most famous one. He was the director and lead designer on that one and all of its DLC. He was the director, lead designer, and did some of the writing on Pillars, but he was the director and narrative designer on both Deadfire and Pentiment. So, like, this is a dude who, like, when he makes an RPG or he announces that he's working on a game, I think like the industry genuinely stops and takes a look at it at this point.
Yeah.
Like New Vegas was really his like kind of coming out party to I think the industry at large
Yeah.
because it was Fallout and it
Yeah.
was like Bethesda was trusting an outside studio with the next iteration of a franchise they had just worked on.
Yeah. A lot of people
And
a lot of people say it's their favorite. So,
yeah, a lot of people say it's their favorite. I mean, like it's certain, and I would agree with the bits that I've played. Like it probably has the best writing of any Fallout game, and a lot of that I would say, Josh Sawyer.
hmm.
He's a great narrative designer, and it's pretty telling that hey, most of the major projects that Obsidian's made over the last 12 years, with the exception of the Outer Worlds and I think Stick of Truth, he's pretty much been the lead on
Yeah.
narratively. Like he knows what he's doing. He's going to tell a compelling story. That's always a highlight of those games is, man, it's got an amazing story, it's got amazing characters. So I hope he gets to do whatever if it's not Pillars 3, I hope he does whatever he wants to because it'll be an amazing game no matter what.
Yep.
So
All right, Josh. I'm moving this other story kind of into DLC. But
yeah, let's do it.
we're gonna kick off DLC. Best Buy is reportedly going to stop selling physical media in 2024. Right now, games aren't sticking around. But
They are sticking
or that's what
around.
I meant. They are sticking around, but
Yeah,
how long do we think? Because the rumor is that Walmart's going to stop carrying physical Xbox games next year.
that
Also,
does not surprise me.
yeah,
Xbox has really been like at the forefront of we want you to go digital.
yeah.
But I don't think it's exclusive an Xbox thing. You look at the PS5 Slim has the detachable disc drive,
And Remedy
right?
also announcing that they're not making a physical Alan Wake 2.
Yeah, they're not making a physical Alan Wake 2. We already have companies like Limited Run doing physical copies of games that I thought would get releases at least physically on the Switch, in Persona 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Um, so this doesn't surprise me. I think the Like a Dragon spinoff that's coming out next month is digital only as well.
Mm-hmm.
This is how it's going to start going. I mean, I liked seeing everybody scream about, Xbox doesn't care about media preservation and this and that after those leaked court documents. And it's like, buddy, everybody has digital. Like the Switch sells so much digitally.
Yeah.
I know Switch owners who have never bought a physical copy of a game.
Yeah.
Like, because it's portable and they're going to lose the game cards. And like, the only reason we still buy physical on the Switch is because we both have one.
Yeah.
That's the only reason that we still buy physically. And I still largely buy a lot of my Switch games digitally. My Xbox, I probably transitioned to digital midway through Xbox One,
Mm-hmm.
largely,
Yep.
except for my Black Friday purchases, or if it's something that I wanted that had like collector's editions are starting to come without physical copies now, which I think that's silly. If you buy a collector's edition, it should come with a physical copy.
Yeah.
I will die. I will die on that hill.
Yeah.
I think it should absolutely come with it. I'm bummed that Best Buy is going to stop selling physical media. I really love buying. I buy a lot of digital movies, but I love having a big physical media collection of movies.
Yeah, that's one thing that
Um,
I still kind of like. I mean, I'm not a
mhm.
huge movie person, but I like okay,
We know.
so example, a couple months ago our power went out, right? And
Yeah.
we couldn't access Disney Plus, Netflix, anything like that, right? And so I have physical, a lot of Disney physical movies, and we popped it in and we watched, like Toy Story and stuff because my kids like really love Toy Story, and like we didn't, or yeah, like our internet was out and we could watch that, so that was nice. I said power initially, I meant internet, but uh,
Yeah, I'm also like I've been leery of digital storefronts for a long time, even though I buy a lot. But I usually don't buy things at full price on them. I buy them when they're on like $5 sales.
yeah,
Um, but delisting has become a very talked about issue with streaming services, and I'm like, guys, this has been happening for years.
hmm,
I have bought stuff on iTunes that is no longer available to purchase, but I can still access it because I bought it.
right,
Um, Similarly, on digital storefronts, for example, when it comes to like TV shows, eventually they stop paying the licensing rights on a lot of these shows, so the music has to be changed to like generic stuff. Like Scrubs is a very notable example of this. Scrubs had a lot of notable music throughout the years, and some of those rights have never been renewed with the publisher. So like, oh, there's different insert songs now, and it gives a totally different feel to the scenes that like when I go back and watch it on my DVD, it's very weird.
hmm, yeah. It was
um
speaking of that, like How I Met Your Mother is one of my favorite shows,
yep.
and like
Yep.
the like the TV versions have like all the licensed songs or whatever, but when you watch
Hmm.
it on streaming services, I noticed three very particular uh generic music things from like iMovie and Final Cut that are just in the music library, which is what they inserted into into the show, and I was like, hmm,
Yeah, it's become fairly annoying at this point.
hmm,
Um, God bless them. It's become really aggravating though. Um, so you have all sorts of things like that, and I'm just like I'm fine with you having to replace the music, but when it like actually changes like the emotional impact of a scene, oh my god, the asshole charger just turned on his car outside. I can hear it outside my window, and he's not going to move for like 3 minutes probably. Um, I think that that becomes a problem, and like that's going to be something you see more and more with streaming services as we get more and more things into these libraries, right? But also like how streaming services are getting more and more expensive for less quality content and less of a library. They're getting more and more spread out. um, I'm at the point where I'm starting to buy as many things as I can physically because I'll do the inconvenience of getting up and putting a disc in. You
yeah,
know, my Xbox is my main console. Like, I'll keep watching them on that. I have a 4K Blu-ray player built into that thing. I'm gonna watch 4K Blu-rays,
right,
especially if it's something I care about. Like, physical media is still the best way to get the best picture and the best sound.
hmm,
You can't replicate that in streaming.
hmm,
So, I'm personally like one of those guys that, like, yeah, if I have the option to, like, I may watch it on streaming initially or like buy a cheap digital version, but I'm gonna go buy a physical copy as soon as I can if it's something I really cared about that I want to keep. So
yeah. Well, hopefully these don't
physical
go away.
games will 100% be out of stores by next generation, though.
I hope. I
Maybe
mean,
Nintendo is the last holdout.
I mean, I really hope not. Not that I like collect a lot of physical games anymore, but like it's always nice just to walk in the like when you walk into Best Buy to look at something, you just wander
That's
over
great.
the game
I love it.
section and flip through oh, here's a $20 section. Let's see what's over here.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I'm definitely a big fan. That's how I was at the movie section for so long, but that's been dying out for a couple of years now.
Yeah,
At least at my local Best Buys, they started putting them in the back corner of the store and whatnot. I'm just over it.
yeah,
Um, but they're going to stop selling them online too, which is a pretty big nuisance.
yeah,
I'm like, why can't you just keep them in like warehouses? It doesn't mean that like physical media is, it's not going to go away, but it's going to become a more niche thing. You're going to have to actively seek it
yeah,
out. The big concern will be if Amazon stops doing it. If Amazon stops doing it, it's done. Physical media is done.
yeah. Speaking of Amazon, Josh,
Oh Christ!
Amazon shows off the Fallout TV show for the first time.
Well, this is a good thing. This
Yeah,
is a good thing.
yeah. How do
I
you?
like this announcement. April 12th.
Yeah. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about the Amazon show or the
Extremely
Fallout show?
cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
So I saw the leaked footage from Gamescom of the show, the leaked teaser. It looks like Fallout. The question is the writing going to be there? And it's the same creative team that made Westworld for HBO. So this could go one of two different ways. This could either be really awesome or it's going to be complete dog shit.
You mean the first season will be
Uh,
great and the rest of it will be like, what are you doing?
so yeah, I'm a little scared. Um, Walton Goggins is in it though, and I love Walton Goggins. This is apparently set in Los Angeles. Um, from like some of the teaser posters that we've seen.
Yeah.
So little little optimistic here. Um, yeah, I'll watch this. I have Amazon Prime Video. I don't watch anything on it. My girlfriend does, but I don't like any shows that they have on there. I'll watch this though, 100%. Excuse me. I'll have a second show to watch after Vox Machina now.
Oh man. Well, Josh, let's talk about something else real quick.
Let's talk about something else.
Real quick. For the record, I don't really care about Fallout all that much.
Oh God, get out of here.
People Can Fly, however, I do care about very much so. Their Xbox exclusive project has seemingly been confirmed by a job listing on Smart Recruiters. This is called Project Maverick. I think it'll probably be some sort of third-person shooter, since that's kind of what they've been making over the last few years, right? Like Gears Judgment and Outriders.
Well, if there's something that Xbox needs, it's more shooters.
Yeah. Third person though, Josh.
God.
Gears isn't enough. Oh man. I
mean they have a working relationship with them. They used to be an Epic studio. Like,
yeah.
Microsoft's worked with them several times.
Yeah.
So this isn't a huge surprise.
Yeah.
Especially after how they got treated by Square Enix with Outriders. This is not surprising.
Right. Maybe it's a sequel to Bulletstorm. Although I think Gearbox owns that now. Somehow.
I don't know. But this could be interesting. I don't know what else. When we first heard the trademark Project Maverick, I instantly thought of Top Gun.
Mm-hmm.
If they made a fucking Top Gun game, I don't know if that would be any good, but I'd be very interested to see. I would love a Top Gun game from Top Gun Beach Volleyball. I would love to see a Top Gun game from the Flight Sim team from Asobo.
Didn't they put Top Gun DLC in it?
They did, but I'm talking like I want fighter pilot missions. I want dogfighting.
Yeah, it's fair.
I want Tom Cruise to come record original Maverick dialogue.
He probably would too.
He probably would back up a truckload of money and tell him he can do the full mocap.
Yeah.
We'll pay you whatever you want. You can even fly the plane if we'll put motion tracking on the plane.
Yeah.
Like, who fucking cares? Let's go. Yeah. I would do that in a heartbeat. I would just be like, here's $40 million for Tom Cruise just to come in and record some voice lines.
Yeah.
This is why I don't make the decisions at Xbox.
I'm actually really excited. I think I'm one of the few people who actually really like enjoyed Outriders.
I liked the gameplay. I did not like the story at all. The story was totally nonsensical and awful, but I think the abilities were really cool.
Yeah.
It was trying too hard to be a Destiny clone at times.
Yeah.
But I would say in terms of like the actual experience of Destiny, it probably came the closest that I felt to that initial 2014 Destiny playthrough.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it felt like a game that should have come out in like 2017, frankly.
Yeah. It was a really good Game Pass game, but
yeah, that's the best way to sum it up. It was a great Game Pass game.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I would have picked it up if it wasn't on Game Pass, but I ended up buying it after I played through like some of it, and it was on sale for like $17 or something. I didn't play World Slayer though, which I heard made the game like a lot better in terms of.
I did not play it either, so
that's People Can Fly for you. I also really like Gears Judgment, on the record. I know people don't like it, but I did. All right, Josh, our last piece of DLC here. Digital Foundry discusses resolution boost on the Xbox 2 podcast, and that it never really actually launched the resolution boost for Xbox One games. I I don't know if I ever really noticed that. I mean, I guess you would really have to be like a, resolution stickler to really notice that, but I mean, that's kind of weird. Is it weird? Because the 360 games got resolution boost and the original Xbox one did, right? Like those games look significantly better.
Yeah, I don't know how much I don't know how much I believe this. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be a stickler. We know a lot of the Microsoft games got the upgraded resolution, but like it also takes resources from these studios and from this specific team.
Yeah.
Like I fail to see why this is a big deal. I just I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I played Gears 1, the remastered one, and it looked amazing, and like they put the frame rate boost in there. I mean, I don't know, man. I This seems a little meh to me, but you know,
Yeah, I this feels like a nothing burger to me.
yeah.
I understand like why it's getting some traction, but also Digital Foundry's whole thing is like they're sticklers about this kind of shit.
Yeah.
And I like looking at their takes on like multi-platform games, especially and like new games. I think it's usually fascinating. They see a lot of things that like I don't catch,
Yeah.
but I think that also leads to God bless them.
Yeah.
These guys also like pick out the tiniest nits and pick at them.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of over that like that part of their content
Yeah.
at this point. It's part of why I had to like mute them on Twitter is just because I was like, okay, I'm tired of like everything is just negative bullshit these days. Like we get it, games launched with problems. We fucking get it. We fucking get it that something didn't launch smoothly. Like we don't need you, or oh, something didn't achieve full 60 frames. Like it's hovering around like 52. Like who fucking cares? I can't tell.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something. I can't fucking tell. Now, like pop ins and stuff, that's a problem. Audio cutouts, that's a problem. But like, oh boy, it dipped like 10 frames. Like now, when it's a 30 frames game and it dips, that's a lot more noticeable than dipping from 60 to like 50.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a nothing story to me too. I just found it kind of weird that this is what they were talking about on that podcast. I haven't listened to it. I don't know if I'm going to.
I haven't either.
That podcast is kind of hit or miss for me, to be honest.
It's very hit or miss. I like Rand. Rand is definitely meant to be a podcaster. Jez, I like Jez's reporting better than I do him on a podcast, frankly.
Yeah.
I also just feel like I don't know. I'm in this weird place of like listening to podcasts that like break news or something,
Yeah.
or like have things to reveal. It's usually like it's real hit and miss, and it's usually like never what it's drummed up to be because you can't actually reveal it out there. You have to reveal it at your place of work,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Yeah.
all right. Like if it comes from a source like if it comes from like Jeff Grubb, I'm much more likely to trust it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like Digital Foundry's full of shit. Like Digital Foundry's extremely credible,
Yeah.
but they're underneath the Eurogamer banner, and it's just I don't know.
Yeah.
I have a weird thing about it.
Yeah.
That's all.
All right, let's move away from this. Coming to Game Pass over the next couple weeks, Josh. Some
God,
pretty
this is such a great lineup.
pretty heavy hitters here. Dead Space Remake is coming to Game Pass if you have Game Pass Ultimate because it includes EA Play. That's a huge one, man. I mean, I know EA Play usually puts stuff on like 6 to 8 months after, unless it's a Star Wars game, but it's pretty big.
Yeah, that coming out before that shocks me that that's coming before Black Friday.
Yeah,
I thought that was going to be a heavily discounted game. Then you look at it and you remember, damn, this game's been out for 10 months.
I know. January, man.
So, okay, maybe it's not that surprising. Maybe sales have like really slowed up on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like Dead Space is either you're gonna buy it right when it comes out because you're a hardcore either Dead Space fan or horror fan, and then sales dip and nobody's really interested until it's like 20 or $25. But
I would agree with that.
um,
I would agree with that.
also coming out is Frog Detective, the entire mystery, Josh, not just one part, the
entire one,
mystery.
The whole enchilada.
Yep. Miniko's Night Market is also coming on the 26th. I don't really know what that is, but
no idea.
Sure. 1031 Headbangers Rhythm Royale. Is this a battle royale where you have to play music?
Yes, you are a headbanging pigeon.
Oh, right, it's that game. Oh god.
Yep, it's that game. Yep,
Mm.
that was pretty much my reaction as well.
Yikes. But Josh, one game we're both really excited for on 1031 is Jusant is coming out.
Very excited for this. I've heard nothing but great things about
That
it.
game looks amazing.
It looks awesome. I'm a really big fan of Don't Nod.
Hmm.
This is their like first non like not their first non not like um narrative
Yeah.
style game, but it is their first one in quite a while.
Yeah, I think the last one was that Vampire, and then before
They
that,
did Vampire and they did Remember Me.
yeah. So
So we'll see. Well, this could be either really good or really bad, but I'm taking it as a good sign. It was featured in the showcase over the summer.
yeah.
People who got to play it have said it's really, really good. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited. I just wonder how long it is.
Yeah.
It feels like it's not going to be that long of a game.
No, this feels like a maybe like a 8 to 12 hour kind of journey,
Oh man,
maybe.
I was thinking like 4 to
Well,
6.
maybe. I don't know, man.
I mean, Cocoon is 4 hours.
Yeah.
So
Cocoon's amazing too. You guys should go play Cocoon on Game Pass.
Cocoon is the game I'm hopefully starting this week now that I got Spider-Man out of the way.
On 11.2, we're getting Plates Up, which kind of looks like a Overcooked ripoff.
Oh, okay. Got you.
I mean, it's a little bit different, but that's kind of what it reminded me of. And
I'm very excited for this next game.
11.2, we're getting Thirsty Suitors.
I'm very excited for this one. This game looks horny as all hell.
I don't even. Yeah.
It's gonna be one of those games that's gonna be real hit and miss for people.
Yeah.
But I'm very, very excited for this game.
It's hitting all the right buttons for Josh.
I just remember periodically that it's coming out, and it's from Annapurna. They're publishing it. That is an exciting thing to me. I really like when Annapurna publishes games. I pay attention. They're probably the best indie publisher out there today. And I believe it is the first. It is the first game of the studio Outer Looped.
Ooh.
From what I remember. So yeah, pretty excited. They originally were pitching 3 different concepts to studio or to publishers, and then they decided to move forward with it completely. And yeah, it just kind of took off from there. It is coming to everything under the sun. Demo came out last summer on Steam, and our buddy Ray played it and really enjoyed it. So looking forward to it.
Yep. And last but not least, Josh, another Sega published game, Football Manager 2024.
We may not care about those games, but those games are super popular apparently.
Yeah, they're really popular, especially obviously where soccer is popular, because that's the football they're talking about.
Yeah,
the real football, not the football that me and Josh enjoy.
Yeah.
Well, Josh.
Well, Corey,
I think we did it.
I think we did too. I'm ready to get on out of here.
Yeah, I'm ready to edit this and go to sleep. So everybody, I want to thank you for watching and or listening. Remember, you can catch Xbox Casuals every 2 weeks on your favorite podcast service or on YouTube, on the Tower Casuals YouTube. Josh, thank you for your time tonight. As always, where can we find you?
Josh_Finn on Twitter. I'm still there.
Still hanging in there.
I'm still there. Not as much as I used to be, but I am still there. I'm kind of like curtailing social media altogether, really.
Yeah. I've kind of not been using it at all, actually, unless it's work related. So
it's made me a lot happier.
Yeah.
And a lot less stressed out, frankly.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, you can find me at I am Corey HD on social media. If you're into Destiny, check out Tower Casuals, our main show, which you can find every week. Like, subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen. Thank you so much for watching and or listening. And until next time, we love you. Goodbye.